hopefully you got a lot of rest. I did. It was really nice to get that little bit of a break and a recharge and come back to a snowstorm, right? That's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today. And we can just go right into it. This is probably one of the worst to try to predict or try to judge what to do. Because do I think we'll be fine tomorrow morning? Absolutely. Unless it changes, which you guys have probably been watching it for days now, and it changes. The problem is we take them in and then it gets really bad during the day and we have to get them home, right? And the wind factor, which I know it's going to be a heavy snow, but that snow that's coming down, if it's blowing, causes a lot of problems for drivers, for you to be able to see. It can accumulate on the wires, on the limbs, and so we have, tree limbs going down, we have wires going down. And so I'm gonna tell you we're calling school tomorrow, it's not what I'm saying. Because again, it will change, it always changes. But keep your phones near you. Don't call the office and ask. If you haven't heard from us, it means we haven't made a decision yet or we're going. There is the thought, we could always dismiss early, but that is a nightmare for us. And it's a nightmare for the schools because you can't send elementary kids home if you don't know if there's a parent there for them. Which would mean that we flip the schedule. We take high school home, we take middle school home, and then elementary home. It just becomes chaos for us. And I've already had these conversations with Andy, just to let him know this is his first year going through this and, trying to get his feet on the ground of how do we handle this.
What state was he born in?
Exactly, so I was going to bring this up without bringing up names, but I think we've proven during COVID that we can go remote. Like the kids can go remote, especially for a day. I completely agree with the philosophy that they need to be in front of the teachers, but not at someone else's expense, of whether it's accidents or someone getting hurt. So I've also voiced that with Andy, and he seems to be on board with that as well. We have the ability to do that, so let's not take any chances. Again, if you haven't heard from us, don't call the office, because poor Kelly, it's going to be chaos for her no matter what, because parents don't call the office and want to know what we're thinking. As soon as we know, we will let you guys know. Okay? You want to add anything to that, Matt?
Yes, so I've already been called in by the O&M department for 3 a.m. snowplow. Please do not arrive before 6 a.m. unless your route tells you to. It's not fun trying to plow around your guys' cars while you're parking while I'm trying to fly up and down the lot. It is not supposed to stop anytime soon in the morning. And I'm probably gonna, as you guys are rolling in, probably still trying to clear the spot so you guys can see where you're supposed to be parking. Because we all know that's trying to fun and it looks like a jigsaw puzzle out there. So just know I will be flying up and down the lot a lot tomorrow in the morning. I keep an eye out for you guys and I stop when you guys are backing out. But be aware that I'm going to be out there. Please don't show up any earlier than you really need to.
All right, and be careful backing when you're backing those buses out, because again, the cars it's hard to see where to park when it snows like that. So watch behind you. Any questions on any of that? Any thoughts, any insights that you want to share? All right. Birthdays. Claudia. Is Claudia here?
Hey, Claudia.
Teresa, I think she's here. Tammy in January. had 2 preventable accidents, and so preventable means just, you know, what I'm saying, it should not have happened. If we're using our mirrors, we shouldn't be hitting yellow posts or, you know, other buses. So, again, a reminder, use your mirrors. We did have a driver hit one of the doors. Again, it happens every year, unfortunately. But, so a reminder to all of you that park here, you have to make sure those doors go all the way up. There's no guarantee that they're going to go up, especially in the middle of winter. So please, before you back out, make sure that door is all the way up. Monday, January 15th, which is this coming Monday, is Martin Luther King's birthday, and we have no school. No one is out on that day. Okay? And then our February important dates are out. You should have seen those if you checked your email. Brandy has sent those out, and she does send out reminders every day, so please check those emails. We already talked about the snow, but one last thing is, depending on what happens, obviously Tuesday overnight, we may have to make another decision about Wednesday. We will send out, training for you to do, so that, we go remote, we don't make the day up at the end of the year. And so we send training out to you, you do the training, you get paid. If you don't do the training, you don't get paid, okay? And a reminder that your position does not qualify for unemployment benefits. The calendars go out a year prior. For the school year, we do give you letters of assurance in the springtime that you will come back to a job in the fall if you are not driving over the summer. And so that's, it doesn't qualify because you are notified that you will not be working those weeks. Any questions on that? Matt, you wanna add anything? Anybody have questions on anything, other than how I did this? Ladies, you can probably understand this. I flipped my head over and put the towel on my wet hair this morning and went, my nail. I wish it was a more exciting story.
It was preventable.
It was preventable. Yeah. Slow down a little bit, right?
Oh, dry out.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a joke though. I've been promising you guys a joke for how many safety meetings now. You guys know what vegetable is cool but not that cool?
What?
Vegetable that's cool but not that cool? A radish. Sorry, I gotta keep them clean. Alright, thanks.
I did just think of something I wanna add real quick before we go over this is, keep an eye out, I'm going to send out a new field trip log. We're gonna add the safety lanes onto there for next week, cause we gotta get all the January ones through. Unfortunately, we had a mechanic lined up, but he has not been responding, so it looks like we're still short a mechanic. And for those of you guys that don't remember or haven't been through it yet, is that your safety sticker, if it says a 1, you have until the end of the month. It's not expired, you're not driving on an illegal tag or anything like that. So today we're gonna go over, I am not awake enough. We're gonna go over railroad crossings. I know everybody probably thought we were gonna do winter driving with all the snow coming up. Nope, we're gonna go over railroad crossings. And there's not many crossings in the district. We've got about 3. Does anybody remember which one we don't go over? Kirk Road is exempt. We don't have to stop at that one, but there's one that we intentionally don't route you guys down. 3rd Street. If you're making alterations to your routes, please do not go down the tracks at 3rd Street. But Kirk Road is an exempt one. What are you guys looking for when you guys approach a railroad crossing? Well, a train. What else are you looking for?
You wanna make sure there's the stop line there.
You gotta know
Wanna
if
make
there's-
sure you're
Yep.
clear past the track.
If your stop line is there or not, cause otherwise you gotta gauge your 15 to 50 feet. You're also looking for where the gate is. You're also looking for your warning sign that says the railroad crossing is coming up, cause that's about when you put your hazards on. Your 100 or 200 feet if you're in rural or urban. What else is something you can do, Julie?
Now, can we just go back to the railroad crossing on Kirk Road?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Because, you know, the one that's on St. Charles, in St. Charles?
Yep.
St. Charles is exempt.
On the St. Charles side, there's one over there, and it took many years and a lot of plants growing through it before they finally put up an exempt sign. But there's an exempt sign, so anytime you come to a railroad crossing, it says exempt, you do not have to stop, you just keep on trucking through. And that can become confusing, cause like I said, for years, that didn't say exempt, but there was clearly no train traffic going down the road, or down the rails. But until it says exempt, you have to stop there. Use an example, there's another one in Aurora that looks like the train tracks never get used. And every once in a blue moon, a train does go down it. But you have to stop unless it says exempt. That includes if for some reason if you were in a white activity bus for some reason, the white activity buses have to stop now. So what's another good safety practice as you're approaching a railroad stop?
Obstruction.
Sorry?
Obstruction. The big boxes are up along the side.
Yep, looking for obstructions, keeping an eye out for those. Yep, how many tracks there are. How about tapping your brakes to let the people know behind you you're slowing down along with putting on your hazards. How many of you check for traffic before you guys cross the railroad tracks? I know that sounds like an odd one, but I've been out there with drivers where we're training and somebody blows around you while you're stopping at the stop sign, or at the railroad crossing. The pedestrians don't seem to care. They don't have to stop. They don't wanna wait for you necessarily. So you wanna check your mirrors and check for traffic as well as trains. I know it's an added thing, but you don't wanna take off and accidentally get somebody calling on you saying you cut them off or get into an accident. I've been in the bus when it happens. It blows your mind to think that somebody thought that was a good idea to go around a school bus while they're stopped at a railroad crossing.
Happens in Burlington.
I believe it.
I get honked at.
You get honked at. And we all have railroad crossings. Everybody knows the school bus stops at a railroad crossing, but somehow they don't care. I think it's a lot of people are used to the little buses stopping or not having to stop. For the longest time, the white buses didn't have to stop at them, just went through. I think people are just used to the little buses not stopping. The one on Randall heading up into Elgin gets a little scary sometimes when you're in a little bus going that way.
That's for sure, yeah.
Cause you gotta stay in that right-hand lane and you've got traffic flying past you, probably faster than the 45 they're supposed to be going.
Small buses don't have to stop.
No, they do,
Oh.
but the problem is that, like Andy's saying, that people are honking at them. The white buses didn't used to have to stop.
Oh, okay.
It's been mandated since 2018 that everything has to, any bus has to stop at a railroad crossing. But it seems like people forget that the little ones do have to stop, and so then they get frustrated because you guys are holding up the traffic, but they forget we're holding their kids on the bus too. What kind of active signals are there at a railroad crossing? Or what is an active signal? Does anybody remember? The flashers,
And
the horns, the crossing arm that comes down.
The one in Geneva says another train's coming down the other track.
Yep, they've started doing that. They've started, a lot of the railroad crossings have started moving toward, instead of just blaring a horn, it says a train is coming down the tracks. What if you guys get stuck on the track?
yeah.
Get off the bus and run?
Let the students know what you do.
I hope you're taking the kids with you, Jack.
Save yourself. Save yourself the driving in.
If there's a train coming, you're going out both doors. You can't worry about if the kids are separate. You wanna try and keep them together as best you can, but there's one coming down, the kids gotta go out the back and everybody else gotta go out the front. You gotta split the bus. It's not an ideal situation, but it's better than somebody getting hurt if we can avoid it. If there's not a train coming, take everybody to the same location. Which way are we heading when a train comes? Towards the train if we know there's a train coming. Cause you don't wanna be in the line of the debris when it inevitably crushes it. Bus is big, but it's not gonna win against the train. What else can we do? If there's not a train coming, call the number. At every railroad track, there's a blue sign with the phone number. If you call that, they can stop whatever train's coming down the line. That way we can get the bus out of the way before something does have a collision. But that is if there is not a train already barreling down on you. At that point, if you can see the train, it's probably too late for them to stop. When you come to a railroad crossing, who's got the right of way? Train. I know that sounds like an obvious one. They have the right of way. How do you guys judge if your rear end is over the tracks enough, or that you've got enough room?
That's not enough room.
What's that?
It's not enough room if you're not sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it, is if you don't know if you don't have enough room, don't cross until you know you do. You guys walk that bus every day, and if you guys are checking your mirrors, you guys should have a pretty dang good idea of how far back your bus is that you're across those tracks. If you're not sure, don't chance it.
But on a sunny day, you can see the shadow of your bus.
Yep. If you guys didn't hear, she said on a sunny day, you guys can see your shadow, which gives you a pretty good idea of if you're all the way across or not. How do you judge the train speed and distance as it's coming down? You don't. That is the correct answer. They are too big, and it is very deceiving as to how fast they are going. You can't know how fast they're going down those tracks, and you don't know how quickly they're gonna be upon you. So you don't chance it. if you see a train coming and you've already done your check and you don't cross, you gotta do it again?
Yes,
Yep.
Yes. Why?
in case there's another train
In
coming.
case another train comes along. You always double check after the train has come by.
Matt? can
Yeah.
I interrupt? On, Western Avenue, those tracks, I know I've talked about this before, but nothing ever changes. You can see that train right there, and the gates don't go down.
Hmm.
So I just wait, but it's like, when are those gates gonna go down? It's nerve wracking.
So the train is moving and it's not going down, or it's
You see it.
sitting?
You can see, no, it's moving, it's coming from the Geneva train station to Western, so it's going west.
Okay.
And you can see it right there, and the gates still don't go down. It's right
Okay.
here. Yes.
We can call the train company. I wasn't aware that they weren't going down like that. I thought maybe it was a sitting train.
Where's Steve? Are you here?
I'm right behind you.
Okay.
I saw one going east this morning, I kept looking at it,
Yeah, it
looking at
doesn't
it.
go down.
The gates were going down, I kept looking at it, and I went across, by the time the gates were down, I was almost at South Street. So it was, you know, they timed everything, you know.
Yeah.
They were crawling,
Right.
but like you said, you can't see that, you just see the lights.
Yep, you just see the lights come in the dark. You're not gonna know how fast it's going.
Right.
Okay. We'll call them and see if there's anything we can do. We'll try at least. I can't make any promises, but, if you got a sitting train, not like where you can see it, it's not moving, that is best judgment on your guys' case if you think it's gonna start going or not. We're not out there, we can't see it. So if you guys see a sitting train, you gotta make your best judgment. Make sure you're listening, make sure there's nothing else coming around it if you got two sets of tracks there.
Takes a while for it to get going, cause it's so heavy.
They do. If they're stopped, especially if it's a freight train, it's gonna take a while for it to get moving. You're gonna be sitting there a while.
Yeah, on the Amtrak ones, they'll fly through there.
Yep. The Amtrak ones, they're usually hauling and they take off a lot quicker.
Do you know, are they gonna close the tracks when they put that third one in, or are they gonna, how are they gonna do that?
I don't know. My best guess is they'll probably close one rail, the one right next to where they're adding it to, and keep the other one running.
Yeah, they already closed the bridge and reopened it. So I expect that our intersections will be closed one by one at some point.
Yeah, they're slowly working on it. Cause it's, how far, are they trying to, I can't remember, are they trying to do it all through Geneva? And the third rail, or is it
Yeah.
up to Peck?
Up to Peck.
Up to Peck, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
What I read, Western might be shut down maybe till, late spring into the
Okay.
summer.
Oh, okay.
So that may help
Yeah.
us.
Cause right now I think they're still planning on it going down to 2 at Peck, because that would be that's a giant undertaking, trying to redo the intersection at Peck to make that 3 lanes.
I don't imagine what, like, close down that bridge.
That'll put a damper on a lot of things if they close down that bridge to add a railroad track. Alright. Do freight trains follow a schedule?
Yes.
Not one that we know.
Not?
Not that
They
we-
have their schedule, but not a
Not that
predictable
we know.
schedule. They do, but not one that we can predict. It's not like the Amtrak where you'll know pretty much when it's passing by. So always expect the train at an intersection. Alright. So I have a train video for you guys to watch. I know a lot of you guys have seen it already, but I like using that one because it has a lot of examples of what can go wrong with school buses. They have a newer one, but it's more geared towards passenger vehicles, and that, I don't think that hits quite at home like watching the school bus accidents. And then I've got a quick quiz for you at the end to see who was paying attention.
guys, we gotta be quiet again before we get over the railroad track.
The decisions you make as a school bus driver affect the safety of your passengers. Nowhere are the right decisions more important than at railroad crossings. There's a lot going on inside and outside of a school bus at rail crossings. Extra precautions must be taken to decide smart and arrive safe. Everyone has driven a car across railroad tracks and not given it much thought. But driving a school bus is different. You are entrusted with the lives of children. Their safety is a top concern. School buses must stop before crossing the tracks, even if there's no indication a train is coming. Cal Lamont is a school bus safety advocate who goes around the country training bus drivers.
The most important safety device on any school bus is the school bus driver. And making smart decisions is an individual choice that every driver makes every time that he or she gets behind that wheel.
Let's take a look at signs and signals and what they mean. The advanced warning sign is usually the first sign you see when approaching a highway rail crossing. It's located a good distance ahead to allow a school bus driver to slow down and prepare to stop before reaching the crossing. Pavement markings consist of a railroad crossing symbol followed by a stop line. The stop line identifies the place nearest the tracks for you to stop. If there is no stop line, you are required to stop no closer than 15 feet and no farther than 50 feet from the nearest track. A crossbuck sign marks all highway rail grade crossings. It means yield for most vehicles, but for school buses, it means stop. In addition to a crossbuck, a stop or yield sign may also be included. No matter what the other signage is displayed, when a school bus approaches a crossbuck, stop. Some rail crossings have a crossbuck with flashing red lights and bells. School bus drivers should treat it like a stop sign, and when the lights begin to flash, do not cross. A train is coming. Many crossings have gates with flashing lights and bells. The gates are used to close the road when a train approaches. You must not go until the gates are completely raised and the lights go off. If there is more than one track, a sign below the crossbuck will tell you the number. Make sure all tracks are clear before crossing. There are a wide variety of railroad crossing situations in terms of both the signs and signals and the layout of the crossing. School bus drivers should always expect a train and be aware that state laws and signage may vary with regard to highway rail grade crossings. It may take longer and be inconvenient, but finding an alternate route that avoids railroad tracks is the safest way to go. And just because you don't have any railroad crossings in your district doesn't mean you won't ever cross them. Busing kids to sports games and other activities may take you over a railroad crossing. So when you get to a railroad crossing, it's important to have a game plan and to know what to do. That's why Operation Lifesaver developed a series of safety steps called 5 Alive. 5 Alive, Step 1, prepare to stop. It all starts with our first sign, the advanced warning sign. When you see the advanced warning sign, slow down, prepare to stop, and alert other vehicles of your intentions by tapping on the brakes and turning on the hazard lights. Step 2, quiet. Alert the students for quiet by flashing the dome lights, making an announcement,
I'm approaching railroad crossing, I need silence.
using a noise suppression switch, turning off radios and fans. Quiet on board your bus will help you hear the train's horn and focus your attention as you check for a train. Quiet signals vary from school district to school district. Step 3, stop, open window and door. Stop between 15 to 50 feet from the tracks or at the stop line. open the window and door and look both ways down the tracks. Avoid obstructed views, poles, mirrors, window posts by leaning forward or backward in your seat. Step 4, double take. Do a double take by looking quickly again in both directions before crossing the tracks. And step 5 of the 5 Alive drill, go. If no train is in sight, cross the tracks. If you're driving a manual transmission, do not shift gears and risk stalling on the tracks. If you see a train coming from either direction, do not cross. You cannot accurately judge a train's speed or distance. An optical illusion may make the train seem farther away and slower moving than it actually is. This train appears to be creeping along, and suddenly it's at the crossing. Don't take a chance. Wait. Obstructed views can prevent drivers from seeing down the tracks at stop lines. Sometimes it's a matter of inching up past a pole or tree. Let's see what this school bus instructor recommends to her new driver.
And this is where you have obstruction and you will need to rock and roll. Listen and proceed.
If you can't see safely down the tracks in both directions, talk to your supervisor. Contact railroad or highway authorities and ask them to remove the obstruction. Beware of getting too close to the tracks or a train may clip you. Trains overhang by at least 3 feet on each side of the tracks. Leave plenty of room for a train's overhang. When the 5 Alive steps aren't followed, disaster can strike. Buffalo, Montana, 1998. The school bus driver had completed most of the 5 Alive steps and was about to cross when a student asked the driver a question about some music. The distracted driver answered the student, then crossed without looking down the tracks a second time. A train struck the school bus, killing 2 brothers.
In that particular situation, that driver was interrupted by a child and did attend to the child. It had to do with a cassette player. But the problem was that the driver did not go back and scan all of the stimuli that he had to look at that moment. It is going back and reviewing all the systems that are going on to make sure that nothing has changed. Because as a driver, things can change in nanoseconds. And that was the fatal error.
Don't be distracted at railroad crossings. If you're interrupted, start your 5 Alive safety steps again. Fox River Grove, Illinois, 1995. A substitute school bus driver, unfamiliar with the rail crossing, started across multiple tracks. Unbeknownst to the driver, when the light turned red on the other side, there wasn't enough room for the bus to clear the tracks. As the train approached, 3 feet of bus extended over the tracks. Inside the school bus, the radio noise drowned out both the train's horn and students' warnings about the oncoming train.
They all ran to the front of the bus to get out of the way.
The impact killed 7 students.
All of that would not have happened if this particular driver had been able to spend some time figuring out, do I have enough room to move this 40-foot bus so that it's going to clear the tracks?
Many errors were made at Fox River Grove. When traffic lights and railroad crossings are in close proximity, there's always the potential that traffic may back up, not leaving enough room for a school bus to fit on the other side. Don't cross the tracks unless there is plenty of room on the other side. This space is called containment or storage. Take into account a train's 3 feet overhang from the tracks and your bus's length.
Well, I think it's important not for the bus driver just to know the length of the bus, but the bus driver has got to walk the length of that bus prior to ever beginning a route, meaning that there is a visual acquaintance that the driver has with that machine. And I think most drivers, after walking around the bus and physically getting accustomed to it, are going to be able to make smart decisions on the basis of what they have seen.
With the light red and traffic waiting, this bus driver made the smart decision to wait before crossing. School bus drivers are being trained to have at least 15 feet of clearance once they cross the tracks. How would you avoid the mistakes at Fox River Grove? Run your route before carrying students across it. Review containment areas to determine when you can cross safely. Eliminate excess noise at the crossing to hear the train. If you have a containment area on your route that will not safely hold your bus, ask to adjust your route. And finally, contact your supervisor on how to deal with it. Conasauga, Tennessee, 2000. A school bus driver from Murray County, Georgia, failed to stop at a crossbuck after turning the bus around in a parking lot on the Georgia-Tennessee line. Here's how a local newscast described it.
The impact of the collision ripped the school bus off of its chassis, dragging it down the tracks, throwing the driver and some of the 7 children out, sounding to nearby residents like an exploding bomb.
I helped pull a small girl, I believe it was a blonde-headed girl from the bus that had massive head injuries.
3 children were killed. The driver's daughter, also a passenger on the bus, was severely injured. An onboard camera caught the driver failing to stop. The driver had been ignoring the crossbuck for some time since a train was never running.
When a bus driver believes that he or she has got this route down, and I know that there are not going to be any trains, that's the time that the driver is setting himself, herself up for disaster. You always go in to a crossing assuming that there will be a train and take the necessary steps.
Savannah, Georgia, 2005. 4 children were put in harm's way by their school bus driver. Bells were ringing, warning lights flashing, and the gates were down when the unthinkable happened. With the train approaching, the bus driver had 4 kids get off the bus to lift the crossing arm so the bus could proceed. A mother saw the whole thing.
The conductor is screaming out the windows at the children to get out of the way.
With the train bearing down, the kids crossed over the tracks in front of the train to get back on the bus.
They could have died. The train was so close.
The school bus driver was immediately fired.
Right before that, another bus came through and was doing the zigzag through it to get through those lights.
Gates are blocking an intersection for a reason. A train is coming. Never lift the crossing arms. Never go around a gate. Contact the police or bus dispatcher if you feel there's a problem. The more you know about trains, the more cautious you'll be around railroad crossings. Here's a few train facts. It can take a mile or more to stop a train given its weight and size. Trains don't have steering wheels. They can't swerve. Trains are much bigger and heavier than buses. 400 loaded school buses would equal 1 loaded train.
You have your route all copied for you, and we need to go over this route.
Before heading off with a loaded bus of kids, know your route. Know where the railroad crossings are. Drive your route and copy down the emergency notification number and the U.S. Department of Transportation identification numbers at your crossings. The posted numbers can take various shapes and sizes. Keep these phone numbers with you on the bus. Also give a copy to your dispatcher. If there's a problem at a crossing, you can provide the coordinates and the number to the dispatcher. As you scout your route, plan for an evacuation in the event your school bus gets stuck on the tracks. Determine an evacuation safe spot away from the tracks. This evacuation area is ideally at a 45-degree angle from the tracks in the direction of the train. Never cross a live track. Here's the evacuation drill. Scout and plan for an evacuation. Get the students safely out of the bus to the evacuation area. Call your dispatch office and give them the crossing numbers. In planning your route, make a list of the safety concerns. Work with your supervisor on resolving them. The safety of your passengers comes first. Each day, millions of kids ride school buses. Many of these buses cross railroad tracks, and each time they do, drivers go through the 5 Alive safety steps. 1. When you see the advance warning sign, prepare to stop. Tap the brakes, turn on hazard lights, slow down. 2. Alert the students for quiet. 3. Stop 15 to 50 feet from tracks. Open the window and door and look both ways. If there are obstructions, try to navigate past them. 4. Do a double take. Quickly look both ways again. And 5. If no train is in sight, cross the tracks.
A school bus driver has to continually say to himself, herself, hey, look, I've got one job to do right now. I've got the rest of my life. You know, I'm going to be going home. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to pick up my laundry, all the rest of that. But right now, I've got one thing to do. And that one thing that I have to do has implications not just for me. It's not just employment. It is protecting the lives of kids who have to have a future because I remain focused.
All right, how you doing? Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Another safe bus ride home. Over the course of a year, 4 billion safe miles are driven by school bus drivers like
Have
you.
a good weekend now.
Your passengers arrive safely because of your smart decisions at railroad crossings.
What's the best thing that any of us could have said about our lives at the end of our lives? And that is that we gave somebody else a chance to live, somebody else a chance to experience his or her potential. And that's what driving a bus is all about. It's not a yellow door. It's a yellow door to a child's future.
Decide smart, arrive safe.
So when they were going over the 5 steps of crossing the railroad tracks, did anybody notice a missing step? Secure your bus. Always make sure you secure your bus. Why do we say make sure you secure your bus?
In case somebody hits you from the back,
In case somebody hits you,
so it doesn't.
or maybe your primary brakes fail, then your parking brake's already set. You're not gonna roll forward. It's the same as at a bus stop. That way, you don't lurch forward and end up on the tracks.
They close the door before they take you out of park.
Yes, make sure you close your door before you take off. It's very unlikely, but you're doing that to make sure that nobody tries to run off the bus in front of the railroad tracks, anything like that. Alright, so it might be hard to see from the back, but I'll read them off to you. So, question 1 is, it takes a 100-car freight train going 55 miles an hour, a mile or more to stop. This is equal to how many football fields? 2, 12, 18, or 25? 18 is the correct answer. At crossings where there is a stop sign or a signal on the other side of the tracks, how does the driver determine if there is enough room for the bus? A, there's always room following a crossing. B, get out of the bus and measure. C, be careful, make a careful guess. Or D, know the length of your bus. D, know the length of your bus. Please do not get out and measure. That'd be an interesting phone call to hear that someone got out to measure and see if they had enough room.
Don't get the kids to do it either.
Yeah, don't get the kids to do it. The public really doesn't like that one. What causes drivers to misjudge whether it is safe to cross the tracks? A, some drivers may not hear the train horn. B, trains change speed unexpectedly. C, it's an optical illusion that fools the eye in judging the distance and speed. Or D, they think the train can stop for them. C, it's an optical illusion. They think they can make it, but they can't. What does this sign tell you, this yellow sign?
Advanced warning.
Yeah, approaching the railroad track.
This is a slow down and prepare to stop at a highway, rail, grade crossing, or railroad crossing. Number 5, below it, what is the white cross sign at the railroad tracks? Or what does it tell you? Your options are expect to see a train at the crossing, yield to the train. If there's more than one track, the sign below indicates the number, or all of the above. All of the above. If you believe the signals are malfunctioning at the crossing, you should look for the railroad's emergency notification number, do not cross, find another route, or all of the above. All of the above. If you guys are able to get the railroad crossing number that it's at, believe it or not, I've done this in my personal car. If you call that number, you'd be surprised at how quick those railroad crossing arms will go up. If you tell them there's no train there. So if you guys call us in with that number, we can call them and tell them that it's malfunctioning. I did it in my personal car once, and it probably took less than 20 seconds after I got off the phone, the crossing arms were moving up.
Are you sure they did it, or then it just?
You know what? I don't know. But it was oddly convenient that it happened right after I got off the phone, so I'm hoping they did something. But maybe not. Maybe it was just a coincidence. But either way, we can let them know. That way they can get on it as soon as possible. Maybe another bus won't get stuck there. All right, so the remainder are true or false. School bus approaching a railroad intersection always has the right of way. False. You do not have the right of way. As you saw in the one accident, that caused us, they had an accident because they thought they could just cross because they never saw the train. A crossbuck is the most common sign at a railroad crossing. That is true. Those will be at every railroad crossing. A stop sign at a railroad crossing means the same as a stop sign at any other intersection. That is true. A number posted below a crossbuck sign indicates how many train tracks cross at that intersection. True. Make sure you're paying attention, know how many tracks are there. Lowered gates and flashing red lights mean a train is approaching. True, most of the time, unless they're malfunctioning and still down.
Should be true.
Should be true. That's a good way to put it. If the gates remain down after a train passes through a railroad crossing with more than one set of tracks, it is a malfunction.
False.
That is false. More than likely, there's another train coming. If your bus stalls on the track, never try to restart the bus. True. Don't even bother with trying to restart it. Your first concern is getting all of those students off the bus as quickly as possible.
Seriously? I mean, wouldn't that just take a second just to do and then?
But a second could mean an accident with injuries or death.
If the train is coming, or if
If the train's not coming, then I'd say it'd be a different story. But if there's a train coming down on you, that second could mean life or death for a student.
Oh, big time. That I understand.
If you have already started across the track and the gates begin to descend, do you continue crossing? Yes. Once you start, you go. Maybe you hit the gas a little bit harder if they start coming down, but. A train can avoid a collision if the locomotive engineer applies the brakes upon seeing the vehicle.
No.
False. By the time they see you, it's already too late. A driver is required to stop the vehicle no closer than 15 feet from the nearest rail. That is true. How come?
Overhang of the
Overhang of the train. School bus drivers should stop at all railroad crossings whether there are students on board or not. That is true. Doesn't matter if there's students on board or not. Unless it says exempt, you need to stop. Any questions on railroad crossings? Any questions on anything at all? Everybody's such a lively bunch in the morning. I know, everybody just wants to go home.
Waiting for that snow day.
Yeah, waiting for the snow day. Might be a snow day for you, Jackie. I don't get a snow day. Oh. Oh, if it's a snow day, well.
So if it's a snow day, does it automatically go to like, when they learn from home?
No, that depends on a decision that has to be made today. Basically is they have to determine whether they think it's a potential, and then they will tell the kids to take their stuff home with them. Cause if they don't take their stuff home, then they can't do an e-learning, and then it will be a snow day.
But we can still do, well, that doesn't.
We've been watching it closely, and just since, what was it, 7 o'clock this morning when I looked, and about 8 o'clock when Mary talked to the superintendent, the weather had already changed from 2 to 8 to like 3 to 12. And the worst of it is supposed to hit us, it's supposed to go in spurts. It's supposed to get the real bad is supposed to be in the middle of the night tonight, and it's supposed to taper off a little bit. And then shortly before routes are supposed to start in the afternoon, it's supposed to hit us hard again. And it's supposed to be like a sleet mix. So that's what's becoming the concern, and it, like Mary said, it's too early to tell, but that's the concern, is we can get them to school, can we get them home?
Yeah. Might be late start.
We had that one last year, didn't we, or was it the year before, where we got them to school, and then in the afternoon, we all had a nightmare to get them home.
Yep, we've done that where we've had an early release in the afternoon, and that is, it's a nightmare for us, because trying to, like Mary said, you can't send the elementary kids home first like we normally do, because parents gotta be home. So then you're rearranging people's routes. Then we don't know where you're at, because we're not used to you doing your high school first, or your middle school first. It just becomes a logistical nightmare, so they take that into consideration.
That day was, I remember that day.
Yeah, it wasn't
Terrible.
It's not a fun day. But all I can say is tomorrow is take it easy. Bearing we have the subs sitting, it'll be stationed out places to help you guys. But take it slow, take it easy. There was one winter where I was in the truck and went to 3 different accidents, all in the same morning, because it was so icy out. Just don't worry about making it to your stop on time. Parents are gonna call us and we're all gonna tell them the same thing. There's inches of snow on the road. They're going slow. We're making sure we get there safe. Don't worry about your times tomorrow. Any other questions on anything?
Those field trips will be canceled.
If it's bad enough, they might. That is something, if they call school, yeah, field trips generally get canceled.
Early release means they're canceled too?
You're more than likely, because even though they wanna keep them, especially if it's an inside sport, it's the traveling to and from, and we have to tell the high school, look, it's not happening. The high school is usually where the biggest concern is, cause they're worried about their state potential. So, yeah, field trips will be dependent, so if you have a field trip tomorrow, that'll be all dependent on how everything plays out. Alright, if there's no other questions, you guys, yeah, Phil?
far as training, you just gonna send an email to us, no?
We'll send an email out to everybody. Generally, we send it out with chapters to go, like paper chapters go along with it. I'm not at home with you. I'm not gonna sit there and tell you you can't look at the papers while you're doing the test. But generally, you need a 90% on the quiz, and you get 3 tries. And we usually give you till about 5 o'clock that same day to get it done. If you can't get a 90% in 3 tries with the papers in front of you, then I'm sorry, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. All right. Have a good morning.